Usually when we talk about like the end of life, there's this expectation of clinical detachment. But today, we are putting the absolute most beautiful part first.
Right, because if you look at these fMRI scans from neuroscientists at Emory University, the response is just stunning. They expose dogs to different scents like food, other animals, humans, and the reaction was, well, incredibly specific.
Yeah, specifically when a dog smells their familiar owner, right? Their caudate nucleus, which is the brain's primary reward center, just lights up, unlike anything else.
It vastly outpaces their neurological reaction to even their favorite treat. So in their darkest or, final moments, your scent alone is their ultimate biological comfort.
That really reframes everything. Well, welcome to this deep dive, everyone. Today, our mission is mapping out the chronological journey of a dog's final days, specifically through the lens of neurology.
It's such an important journey. We're breaking this down so we can understand exactly what's happening inside their minds, which moves us away from fear and toward a much more profound biological understanding.
Exactly. And before we really get into phase one, please like and subscribe to the NiBi Media channel so we can keep bringing you these deep dives. So let's start with phase one, the onset of illness.
Right, so when a dog gets seriously sick, they aren't sitting around having existential dread about the afterlife. Research on animal cognition shows they just don't possess our conceptual fear of mortality.
But they do have that unparalleled olfactory system. I know studies from Penn Vet show dogs can detect internal chemical changes with something like 90% sensitivity.
Yeah, as their cells fail, they emit volatile organic compounds. So the dog is literally smelling their own failing health from the inside out, which is exactly why their behavior radically changes.
I've noticed that. They either become practically glued to your side or they completely isolate themselves under a bed. And I've always heard isolation means the dog is depressed.
That is a huge myth, actually. Animal behaviorists have proven it's an active, total effort to overcome the illness. Biologically, it's an ancient wolf instinct where a sick pack member naturally draws predators.
Oh, so by isolating, they're actively trying to protect you, their pack, from danger.
Exactly. It highlights how their biology prioritizes the safety of their family, even when they are the ones suffering.
That is amazing. I used to think that like a smartphone switching to low battery mode just to keep the screen on, but it's more like low battery mode plus turning on airplane mode so they don't broadcast a signal to threats.
That is a perfect analogy, yeah.
And actually, speaking of that behavioral shift, I have a question for you listening.
Yeah.
If you agree that your dog suddenly acted like Velcro when they were sick, comment the number 8 below. If they isolated instead, comment 0.
It'll be really interesting to see those responses, but eventually this leads us into phase 2, a phenomenon called the last rally.
Right. There are over 100 cataloged accounts in recent studies of dogs who haven't moved for days, suddenly getting up, eating, or wagging their tail right before passing.
It's a very real and documented thing.
I have to ask, though, if their organs are failing, where is that battery power coming from? Is this just some random biological misfire?
Well, neurologists at the University of Michigan discovered it's actually highly organized. As the mammalian brain loses oxygen, it doesn't just quietly power down. It triggers a massive surge of gamma wave activity.
Wait, really? Gamma waves are the ones associated with deep focus and memory retrieval, right?
Precisely. They use this final neural coherence to pull themselves up, look at you, and reaffirm your bond. Their last conscious drive is specifically focused on connection.
That is heavy, but just incredibly beautiful. If you're finding comfort in understanding this science, please take a second to like and subscribe to NiBi Media.
It really changes how we view those final hours entirely.
It does. Which brings us to phase 3, the goodbye. For pet owners making the agonizing choice of euthanasia, there's often this immense shadow of guilt. Does the dog know what's happening, or are they scared?
The clinical data here is profoundly reassuring. Veterinary researchers at UC Davis monitored the exact neurological process, and they proved that brain activity and consciousness fade completely and peacefully in exactly 52 seconds.
Just 52 seconds, less than a minute. But what about their stress levels during that time?
Data from the Berlin Free University confirms that stress markers remain practically non-existent throughout the procedure. Because they don't have that conceptual fear of death, the medical process of euthanasia holds absolutely no traumatic meaning for them.
So they just feel themselves going to sleep next to their favorite scent, the ultimate comfort.
Exactly. And that leads us to decoding the aftermath, the grief. When we lose them, the pain can feel entirely overwhelming.
It really does. But brain scans from Harvard and Mass General show that a human's amygdala lights up for a dog exactly the same way it does for a human child.
Right, the grief you feel is a biological response to losing a synchronized companion. You provided them with a lifetime of welfare, and they shaped your neural pathways in return.
Wow. So the devastation of loss is simply the biologically accurate proportional cost of being someone's entire world.
You were their favorite neurological experience. The pain is just the echo of that love.
Thank you for taking this journey with us today. And one last reminder to please like and subscribe to NiBi Media.
And before you go, just think back to that fMRI study we opened with, where your scent alone is enough to light up their reward center and conquer their fear in the dark.
Right. And ponder this. How deeply intertwined must our nervous systems be to physically share stress hormones and even gut bacteria with an entirely different species?